In this video, I will demonstrate how to use Desmos to create your graph for the rule of 4 scenario. Each of you has been assigned to a small group, and you will create a rule of 4 poster. We will create the graph using graphing technology. If this was being done in the classroom, students would be creating these rule of 4 posters using large sheets of graph paper. However, since this is a virtual training, you will be completing your graph using technology. Things to consider when setting up your viewing window. In this scenario, your X values will represent the number of months, and your Y values will represent total cost. This is a great opportunity for a mini lesson on how students can find their largest Y value by plugging in their largest X value to the equation and solving. From here, they will determine an appropriate scale. This lends itself to a wonderful opportunity for differentiation. There are going to be some scenarios that are going to be much easier for students to graph precisely, such as this one, because both of the initial value and the rate of change are multiples of 10. There will be some scenarios that would be more difficult to graph precisely. Some different ways that you could differentiate for this particular lesson is you could allow the students to use technology to create their graph and then print that out and glue it to their poster. Another way that you could provide differentiation is give the graph template to the students. You can tell them, I want your X values to go from 0 to 12, and it needs to be intervals of 1, and your Y axis is going to go from 0 to 320, and it's going to be intervals of 20. So there are multiple different ways to differentiate for the graph. We are now going to visit Desmos to show you how to graph it using technology. So once here, I'm going to click Start Graphing. And I don't need these negative X values, so I'm going to come up here and change my graph settings. So I'm going to change my X axis from 0 to 10 with a step of 1. My Y axis, I'm going to go from 0 to 320 with a step of 20. I'm going to click off of minor grid lines because they're not necessary for this particular activity. Now, once I'm ready to actually start plotting points, I'm going to come over here and click Add Item and click Table. Now, one person in your group has already completed the table, so you're going to, after that table has been checked, you're just going to replicate it here in Desmos. So I'm only going to do about 5 or 6 points, so you kind of see the idea. Here I have some points. Now I can also label some of these points. I don't want you to have to label all of them, but at least 5 would be a good number. I'll show you how you can adjust where those are. Make sure I click label on these so that the label will show up. Now, to change the position of the label, I'm going to click this little wrench. So I'm going to click below and I'm going to click small. So I'm going to do that for each of these. So now I have them in the position that I want. If I want them to all be the same color, if I want them to be uniform, I'm going to come up here to where it says Edit List, and then that allows me to click here, and let's say I want to make them all blue. Now I also want the points that were not labeled to be blue as well. So I'm going to come up here and I'm going to edit this Y1 and I'm going to change that to blue as well. And so now I can see that all of my points are blue and I have some of them labeled. Now if you notice, I'm clicking and dragging this out just a little bit so that I can see the origin. And that's really important because when you get ready to export your image or share your graph, if this is off to the side here, then that's what it's going to export. So I do want to see the origin for my graph. So now that I have it set, what I would like it to look like, I'm going to come over here and click Share Graph, and I'm going to click Export Image. Now this does not look like how I want it to look, so I'm going to come here and change this to large square. And that's much closer to what I want it to look like. Now it is faint, so I can click here on thick, and that makes it much more bold. And now I'm ready to download my image. So when I download my image, I'm going to come back over here to where my template is, and click out of there so you can see. And then I click and drag this, and then just resize. Now, your graph can hang off of your poster because we don't want it to be too small. We still do want to see it. And there you have it. That is how to use Desmos to create your graph.